Today I'm excited to be taking a look back at yet another device that blurs the line between home gaming unit and computer. This is the Bally Computer System on Vintage Geek. Just a quick reminder, if you like what you see today, please consider liking and subscribing. It does help us out a lot, but one of the things that helps us out the most is if you would consider becoming a Vintage Geek member. You can do that at the website, and for just under $20 a year, you get access to all of our content commercial free. Plus, we have some bonus goodies, some cool swag, and a whole lot more. It's all at vintagegeek.com. As the 1970s came to an end, there were a number of different companies out there that were producing home video game systems, and a lot of these companies were starting to delve into the world of home computing. Midway was one of the companies that was working on electronic devices and actually partnered with a company called DNA, or Dave Nutting Associates, to actually come up with a computer system of their own. Now, of course, the Bally name was pretty popular at the time for all of their various pinball machines, and they had just gotten into the electronic pinball machine space as well. At first, this device was actually known as the Bally Home Library Computer, and later on it actually became known as the Bally Professional Arcade. But then there were some other struggles, and another company ended up buying the rights, which I believe was part of Montgomery Ward, and ended up calling the computer the Bally Computer System, which is the version that we actually have here in the Vintage Geek Museum. There's actually a ton of history to this system, and it's a lot more in depth than I want to get into in this video today. There's some great videos out there that I recommend you check out, and you can always go to ballyalley.com that has a ton of useful information about the system, its history, and the various developers that were involved. But for me today, I just want to take a look at it for the first time because I have actually never used one of these systems. In fact, I had no idea that this system even existed until I was doing a little bit of digging into a scene from one of my very favorite movies. And that would be the movie Vacation, of course starring Chevy Chase and with our favorite family, the Griswolds. At the beginning of the movie Vacation, there's actually a scene where they are in the living room playing a game on a computer. Now you can see in the shot that there's an Apple II, and I actually at first thought that this was something that was designed for the Apple II system, but if you look more closely, there's actually a Bally system in the background, and the controllers they're using are actually the Bally Videocade controllers. I don't think that the actual screenshots that were shown in the movie were a real piece of software for the Bally Astrocade, at least not that I can find, but if you know anything about that, please sound off in the comments below. But it did make me very curious about this particular system, and when we had the opportunity to acquire one, of course I jumped at the chance. I have not even powered up this system yet. I do know that it works. I'm going to take a close look at kind of the overall design of the system. I want to look at some of the titles that we got with the system, and then we're going to give it a try here on Vintage Geek. Taking a closer look at the Bally Computer System, I love the design of this particular box. It is so late 1970s, early 80s. It's got the wood grain on the sides, which I love. One of the things that caught my attention right away is the fact that it does have built-in storage for all of the cartridges, which they call cassettes. So if you lift this little cover, you can actually store all of your games right here, which is actually pretty handy. Now, other than that, looking at the top of the system, we do have the cartridge slot. This is where you would put the game cartridges, or again, cassettes as they call them. To the left of that cartridge slot, there is actually a numeric keypad. And this is important because for using the basic cartridge to actually do some programming and things like that, you need to use this numeric keypad to actually enter data. Having this limited keyboard means that it's going to be a lot more difficult to enter code for programs and things, so I'm curious as to how that's going to shake out when we play with the basic cartridge a little bit later. Below the cartridge slot, there's a couple of buttons. There's a reset button, which I assume resets the system, as well as an eject button to get that cartridge out when it's time to switch games. As far as connections go on this system, there are actually 4 joystick ports on the back. There's also physical cables for outputting the video signal to your TV via channel 3 or 4, and there's of course the power cord and power adapter as well. Now, one of the things that I've read about the system that constantly plagued the unit was the fact that the ventilation on the bottom of the system was really not super adequate for the amount of heat that it produces, and there were definitely a lot of warnings from what I've read about putting this on any kind of rug or carpet, because if you did, it would literally cook the unit from the inside if it didn't have enough ventilation on the bottom. So we're certainly going to be careful about that today and keep this on a smooth, flat surface to ensure that we get a lot of airflow. We definitely don't want to cook our Bally Computer System. When we purchased this unit, we actually did get two different variants of the basic cartridge that came with the system. One of these is a normal cartridge that you put in the cartridge slot just like you would any game. Interestingly enough, it has a 1/8" plug on it that would connect to a cassette deck for either loading programs or saving programs. I guess you would do that from the same actual physical port, and there's an LED indicator on that as well. Now, we looked it up, and it looks like this particular cartridge is capable of handling 2000 baud, which is different from the other basic interface that we did get with the unit that appears to require cable connections to the system, which is interesting. One of those goes into an auxiliary port on the back of the system, and the other one goes into a normal controller port. But from what we've read, this one is only capable of supporting the 300 baud type programs, so we're probably going to try the other basic cartridge today. The Bally Computer System relies on the Z80 microprocessor, and of course we're very familiar with this, having many systems in the Vintage Geek Museum that use the Z80. And from what I've read, the Bally Computer System makes well use of the Z80 processor, and I'm excited to see what it can actually do as far as graphics and sound capability. The system could support 256 colors, multi-voice sound, and honestly, from everything that I've seen, looks like it could be pretty impressive, especially for a system at the time. I've got our Bally Computer System all hooked up and ready to go. It's very simple to connect. There's only one RF out that just goes right into your TV. We're going to capture this, of course, today so you can see what the actual video output looks like. I did want to mention that the controllers for the system are pretty unique. They are very basic. They're essentially just a grip, and then there's a trigger on the grip, and there's a small knob on the top. It's worth noting that they actually do have numbers on them, so when you plug them in, you could connect 1, 2, 3, and 4. I guess that would help you a lot as you're playing with your friends to know which controller is which. Bally Computer System actually came with 4 titles that were part of the ROM in the system, so you don't even have to have a cartridge installed to be able to play those games. I'm going to go ahead and give that a try and see if that shows up. Okay, so we've got a pattern on the screen here. I don't see any game selection though. Let me hit reset. There we go. We do indeed have 4 games. Let's start out with the Gunfight and see what happens here. Enter max score. I don't know, 10? Oh. This looks pretty cool. I like the graphic representation of the gunfight here. Looks like we've got a number of bullets at the top, and then we've got our opponent. Now with these controllers, you can actually move like a joystick, but you can also rotate them. And if you rotate them, it looks like it's actually moving the position or angle of the gun. And if I move the joystick, it moves around, so that's pretty neat. Got him. Obviously this is a 2-player game, so it's pretty easy for me right now. There's no actual physical opponent here. Oh, now we've got an obstacle. Got a covered wagon in the way. Oops. Yeah, still got it. It seems like this would be really fun with actually having 2 players though. Overall, the sound and the graphics are pretty good for a system of this era, so I'm pretty impressed so far. Our first cassette in the system is called Galactic Invasion, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in and see what this looks like. Oh, I see. So when you actually put the cassette in, it gives you an additional menu option. So we still have the 4 that are baked into the ROM, and now we have a number 1 option for Galactic Invasion. So let's go ahead and give that a try. Skill level 1, I guess. Number of bases 2. 1 player. Oops. Well, that was short-lived. That was a very, very short game. Oh no. This is a decent version of this game for the Bally Computer System, and honestly it looks good, it sounds good. It's a little bit slower than some of the other ones, but I assume that has to do with the skill level chosen as well. So, decent port. Next up, we're going to try the Panzer Attack and Red Baron. 5? I don't know. How many numbers do I need to put in here? Oops. Okay, wait. Hold on. Oh, wait. What am I doing? Do not have the appropriate pilot's license. Apparently this is also a two-player game. I'm over here in a cloud. What am I doing? Honestly though, this looks like it would really be fun playing with another player. Yay, I got one! Honestly though, it looks pretty good and very simple gameplay once I figured out the controls here. And again, having a second player, I'm sure this would be a lot of fun to battle it out with your friends back in the day. Next up, we have a title that's in the Action Skill series. This one's called The Incredible Wizard. Definitely want to go with easy. One player. All right, I'm ready. Nice sound. Okay, what are we doing here? This looks a little bit like Pac-Man. Uh-oh. Oh no. So I guess these are just different types of enemies. Not sure what that meant. These guys are pretty slow, although I still lose to them. This is one of those games so far that just seems very, very simple, but I actually think it seems very fun at the same time. Hey, where'd everybody go? Where is everybody? Oh man, everyone. Oh no. It's not cool to sneak up on a guy like that. Oops. Honestly though, pretty fun little game, and I do like the sound effects and the movement. For a late 70s, early 80s title, this is pretty cool. I like it. Next up, we have a game from the Sports series, and this is called Astrocade Pinball. And I'm excited about this one because for Bally, pinball should come naturally, so this should be a pretty good game. Let's give it a try. Well, there's actually two pinballs here, pin 1 and pin 2. Go with one player. Not very good at this. I like how this has kind of the breakout type of blocks that you're trying to get knocked out in a pinball style. It's kind of a unique take on it. Oops. But this is actually pretty cool. I like the kind of strategy aspect they've given to this with having the breakout bricks that you're trying to knock out, so you've got a very finite goal. And it's very simple, but I can see this being a lot of fun. Now that I've had a chance to play a lot of the games for the Bally Computer System, and I've been pretty impressed so far, I want to take a look at the actual basic cartridge. This is when we get into the actual computer aspect of the system, and of course this does use the Z80 processor. I'm not exactly sure what the basic language looks like for the Bally Computer System. We're going to put in the cartridge and find out. There is a keyboard overlay for this that gives you the command reference. I don't actually have that overlay, so I'm going to have to refer to an online version of it to try to figure out what I'm doing here. But let's put in the basic cartridge and see what this looks like. So upon resetting the system, it goes directly into a prompt. This is different than we've seen with everything else, where it still had the baked-in games from ROM and then the cartridge you could select from. Looks like this is going directly into the basic language. I'm going to be honest, the overlay for this is actually pretty complicated. Essentially, you have 3 different buttons that represent 3 different colors that you can choose at the bottom. Those represent different symbols, letters, etc. Then you also have the actual words button, which I believe brings up the basic command words. So if I put in something like words, and then that does work. I'm going to need a quote, so that's going to be red input. Oops, how do I backspace? Erase. Okay. Well, at least that one doesn't require a command. Also red. And then L is blue. O is blue. And we need the quote again. That's red. Backspace. I'm not 100% sure how to actually hit enter on this command. Now there's a go button, which is the top left. Oh, okay. So there you go, a basic command. I told it to print hello and it did so. And it took a while to get that done. I can't imagine doing any kind of complex programming with this. Obviously having the physical overlay on the keys would help a lot, because right now I'm referring back to the image that's on my phone to see which command is which. But the keypad is definitely the limiting factor here. I could see where you could do some cool things with the system, and I would like to try at least to load an existing basic program just to see what that would look like. So I'm going to go ahead and try to connect a cassette machine to this. I'm going to try to load something that someone has done in the past for the Bally computer system and see if we can make that work. So apparently the command to load things from a cassette would be the input command preceded by a colon. We're going to try that now. The C command is going to actually run that. So I'm going to hit play on the cassette deck. I've got a Bluetooth adapter in here so I can play this from my phone. Now this is supposed to be the game of life for the Bally Astrocade. And it does look like it's working. So with this program, it's supposed to be able to take a drawing that you create and then essentially do different patterns and kind of move it around the screen. So I kind of want to see what this looks like. If I start with a basic shape or something, this is using kind of the same mechanic as the scribble pad function that's built in. We'll just make a kind of interesting shape here and see what we can do with it. Oh, look at that. It is indeed making different patterns out of my drawing. Okay. So our basic cartridge does work. We were able to load a program that was made in 2000 baud. I'd be really curious about the specifications of that file format. I know there's a lot of info on the Bally Alley site about the cassette format, and I wonder if anyone out there has actually made some newer games for the system written in BASIC for this. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. I really like the system overall and what it's capable of, and I'm really glad that we have this in the Vintage Geek collection. And that's our first look at the Bally computer system, aka the Bally Astrocade, Videocade, Professional Arcade, or any of the other titles that were given to this system over the years. I'm impressed overall, really glad that we got to try the Bally system today, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe. It does help us out a lot as we grow, but one of the things that helps us out the most is if you would consider becoming a Vintage Geek member. You can do that at the website. We have all of our videos available there commercial free. We have a lot of cool swag, some code snippets, and a whole lot more. It's all at vintagegeek.com. Until next time, I'm Aaron, and this has been Vintage Geek.